Right, next one.
Your Honor, First Lieutenant Paul Compton, I'm sorry, First Sergeant Paul Compton, Virginia State Police. Your Honor, before I begin to examine this witness, the Commonwealth and the defense prior to this trial beginning reached certain stipulations of fact with respect to the chain of custody and admissibility of certain items that was filed with the court. I just wanted to bring that to the court's attention prior to admitting certain items into evidence. Thank you, Your Honor.
I do.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Please state your name and occupation for the court.
Paul Compton, First Sergeant with the Virginia State Police.
And First Sergeant Compton, were you employed in that capacity on April 22nd of 2015?
I was a special agent at that particular time.
Okay, and on that day as a special agent with the Virginia State Police, did you have occasion to respond to the Wal-Mart at 1098 Frederick Boulevard in the city of Portsmouth?
I did.
And what happened when you arrived at that scene?
I was responding to the scene and we're going to start an officer-involved shooting to conduct a crime scene investigation.
Okay, and when you arrived at that scene, what's the first thing you saw when you arrived?
Portsmouth PD had evidence tape around the actual perimeter itself. I was driving the crime scene truck and positioned the crime scene truck right there by the crime scene tape itself.
Okay, and once you arrived on that scene, you parked the crime scene truck, and you got out to get onto the scene. What, if anything, did you do at that time?
I immediately contacted my supervision to get more agents to respond to assist with the crime scene, also to start interviewing witnesses at the scene.
Okay. And at that time, did you do anything yourself on the scene, at the scene, or recover any items on the scene?
I did. I put up my camera, started taking photographs of the scene itself, documenting the evidence, and then once we arrived, all the other agents arrived, we started doing the evidence collection.
Okay. And I know you collected several items, but with respect to certain items, I'm going to ask you questions right now. When you were on that scene, did you collect any items that had to do with the taser involved in this incident?
I did.
And what items specifically did you collect?
It was actually, the taser was approximately about 15 feet from the victim. We actually measured that, the taser and the actual cartridge itself, which I have here, and I collected it and packaged it.
All right, and those are the items that are sitting in front of you today?
That's correct.
And I don't know whether you were in the courtroom, but defense and Commonwealth have stipulated to the chain of custody, but to your knowledge, were there any periods in time where that chain of custody was broken with respect to those particular items?
It was not.
Okay. May I approach the witness, Your Honor? Said which one is which, but this item here is the cartridge?
That's correct. That's item number 20.
And this item is the taser itself?
That's correct. It's item number 19.
19. Are there any accessories that are in with those particular items?
Not that I'm aware of.
Now, if you were to unseal this and open it, is there any packaging inside of this where it can be visible to view?
Possibly it is. What happens is we actually, if it's a weapon or a taser itself, it's zip tied to the box, and that's how it's stationary in the box itself.
Okay, so if you were to open this, it would still be zip tied to the box unless you took it out?
Unless the Division of Forensic Science, when they examined it, they would have unzipped it and done their examination.
All right, and as far as you know, the person who from the Department of Forensic Science performed that examination is Jesse Linmar from Department of Forensic Science?
That's correct.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time I would move to admit the taser and the taser cartridge as common exhibit number, I believe, 20 and 21. May I approach the clerk, Your Honor?
Counsel.
No objection, Your Honor.
No proceed. Do that.
Thank you, Your Honor. And First Sergeant Compton, when you arrived on the scene, the defendant was already gone, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you packaged certain items and presented them to the department. You packaged them to be sent to the Department of Forensic Science, correct?
That's correct.
And that taser is one of those items?
That is correct.
Okay. And I know that other people collected other items, but did you at any point attach any forms with certain items that were sent?
I would have actually completed which is a RFLE, which is sent to the lab, which is an examination form under each item that I would have submitted to the lab, and submitted that to the lab and signed that form and submitted it.
Okay. Do you know whether you did an RFLE form for the firearm itself?
I can't recall.
Not sure?
Not sure.
Okay. Do you recall at any point being asked by anyone what type of crime this was on any form or by any person?
Not on the form itself. It's on the form, when we submit evidence to the lab, we're required to put a specific title on that form while we're submitting it.
Okay. All right. And that would have been based on whatever your personal perspective was of whatever was happening on that date?
It would have been a preliminary investigation, that's correct.
Okay.
Because we submitted the evidence the next day to the lab.
Okay. And when you say preliminary investigation, it's based on whatever you knew at the time?
That's correct.
And when you arrived on the scene, you basically told us all that you just did?
That's correct.
That you arrived, you brought the crime scene truck, you parked it, and you began to collect certain items of evidence?
That's correct.
Okay, but you, at that particular point, had you personally interviewed any eyewitnesses or done anything else with respect to witnesses who had seen anything?
No, my sole responsibility was just crime scene collection of evidence.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Please answer any questions defense counsel or the court may have for you.
Judge, may I have one moment?
You may.
Judge, if I could have just one moment. Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Sergeant Compton, right?
Afternoon.
I'm sorry, I think I missed this during direct examination. What time did you arrive on the scene at Wal-Mart?
I was dispatched at 8:15 a.m. when I received a call from my first sergeant.
Do you know what time you arrived?
It's probably 15 minutes or so. I don't have the exact time.
And at that point in time, you took a number of photographs of the scene, correct?
That's correct.
Including cartridge casings.
That is correct.
Where were the cartridge casings located?
They were several feet from the actual victim itself.
So, from your perspective, they were to the right of Mr. Chapman.
That's correct.
And there were two of them.
That's correct.
And that was the location that you found them when you arrived on scene, correct?
That's correct.
So you don't know where they first hit the ground, if they bounced?
I do not.
The taser and the taser cartridge were not in the same location, or they were not with one another when you arrived, correct? They were in two different locations.
That's correct.
And the taser cartridge was closer to the police car than the taser.
That's correct.
Did you measure the distance between the police car and the taser cartridge?
I did not.
Did you measure the distance of the taser cartridge from Mr. Chapman?
I did not.
Did you measure the distance of the taser from either Mr. Chapman or the police car?
I did not. The only measurement would have taken as far as once we actually set a baseline, which is a crime scene measurement from where our baseline is at to the actual evidence itself. We didn't measure from the car prior to the taser or the taser cartridge itself.
So you testified earlier, I thought that the taser was about 15 feet from Mr. Chapman. Is that not accurate?
That's correct.
That is not an actual measurement you took, that's just your estimate.
That's correct.
Where exactly was the taser when you arrived?
It was on the actual, if you're familiar with the parking lot itself, there's a curb, and the actual tasers land by the curb itself.
Flat on the ground?
That's correct, it was.
Do you know if it was on or off?
I'm not familiar with how the taser works.
You also photographed and observed the container where a CPR mask would be held, correct?
That's correct.
And that container had red stains on it that appeared to be blood, correct?
That's correct.
And that was located next to Mr. Chapman?
That's correct.
Was there a mask inside of it?
There was no mask inside, it was just the container itself.
You also observed a red stain that appeared to be blood on the passenger side door of the police car, correct?
That's correct.
Was that near the handle?
That's correct. It was right there at the handle itself.
Did you also recover a firearm?
I did not.
Did you get a firearm from somebody, either Special Agent Gusto or someone else?
That's correct. He brought it to the scene.
Okay, so you did not actually get a firearm from Officer Rankin. You received it from another agent.
That's correct.
What other items did you recover from the scene?
What was actually brought to the scene was a gun residue kit, which was item number 1. That was collected by Officer Jeffrey Barber.
And I'm sorry, maybe I'm not clear. I don't want to get into everything that you actually put your hands on, but did you collect items from the actual scene, or did someone else do that?
I collected everything at the scene itself.
Okay.
On the Wal-Mart parking lot.
From the Wal-Mart parking lot. What exactly did you recover from the actual Wal-Mart parking lot?
There were his glasses, reading glasses, I believe, a cell phone, a USB drive, a set of keys, a CPR plastic container, a multicolored scarf, a book bag, a black and color ball cap, some white gauze with red stain on it, and a bag valve mask, which was right next to the victim.
What do you mean by a bag valve mask?
This is actually for someone that's not breathing, the mask goes on the end of it, and then you push the blue container to get the victim in there.
Okay.
We recovered 1 condom that was in the right pocket of the victim, 1 brown wallet that was in his left pocket, 2 cartridge casings, and what was actually in the laptop, excuse me, what was in the bag was a laptop computer.
And without getting into anything else, there were other items in the backpack.
That's correct, it was.
And you also recovered the taser and the taser cartridge that you've testified to.
That's correct.
Thank you, Sergeant Compton. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, sir. I don't have anything additional.
Let me step down.
Thank you.
All right, members of the jury, it's almost 1 o'clock and we're going to recess now. Now, we will Your lunches are on the way, okay? I did advise my secretary to let you pick whatever sandwich you want, all right? And you pick the beverage off, okay? Right? Okay. Now, I want you to report back in 2:15, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All rise.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. Can we make a motion, a brief motion, if we could just approach? Feel that based upon the testimony of certain witnesses, that the understanding would be better for the jury if they were able to also have viewed the jury prior to the Commonwealth's concluding its case, rather than having it be at the end of the evidence, and that's the Commonwealth's motion at this time.
Judge, we leave that in the court's discretion is when the court thinks that it's best.
You want the court to write it? Or could you recommend a arrangement?
Yes, sir, I understand, Your Honor. Just in viewing the evidence as it's come in and the testimony and hearing and observing what the witnesses are saying, even though we're trying to display through pictures what the scene is like, the Commonwealth would ask the court to consider having the jury to view the crime scene prior to the conclusion of the Commonwealth's evidence, and preferably...
Because I don't, after which witness you want to, if you, after you put up all the evidence and before you rest?
No, Your Honor, we do have, and what we're hoping for is to have the jury view before the next witness who we have would be on the scene of Wal-Mart, so that by the time that person... This afternoon if the court has that available.
We'll be available, but I'm trying to get, I don't know when you want the view. You saw me before the Commonwealth evidence, and you got more evidence, so at what point?
We do, Your Honor, but we would imagine that by at least 3 o'clock p.m., if we were able to do that today, we would have maybe 2 more witnesses after that time. We would almost be done with our evidence. And if not that, we could probably...
Why don't you let me know when you want the view?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Your Honor.
And in the meantime,
Yes.
in the meantime, we can make the necessary arrangements so we'll be ready. All right, let's have a plan. All right, thank you.
All rise.